Hello and welcome. My name is Hannah, and today we are sketching from imagination, and I am so excited about it. I recently got this new sketchbook, and I opened it up, and it's very long, and it immediately made me feel the inspiration of movement and creatures walking, so I wanted to run with it, pun intended, and sketch some creatures that are walking in a line. I have this obsession with drawing these creatures that are like a little bit creepy and have really hollow eyes, if they have eyes at all. Sometimes they have masks. Oh, I need to draw a hand and I can never know where the thumb is supposed to start or stop. Anyway, so I drew circles to start with this body. I didn't know what it was going to turn out looking like. I don't have a great imagination just in my head of creating these creatures. It all stems from problem solving and like connecting the dots while they're on the paper. I erased these back legs a few times and you can still see the shadow lines, and that doesn't really bother me because if I let it bother me, then I would never draw anything. But if I didn't want those lines, I could have done that in like a pencil that would erase. This pencil doesn't erase, so I kind of put it on myself there. If you noticed, I colored up the arms and legs first, and then I left the body blank because I didn't know what I was going to do with the body. But then it started to turn into this very frail creature, and the only thing that made sense to me to do with the body was to make the ribs very prominent so that the body looked as frail as the arms and legs did. And it's more so about the posture than look at those legs. There's like some good toning in those legs there. But yeah, I really just wanted the whole body to kind of fit the same story, so that's what I was working on. I knew that I wanted to lean really heavily into the lighting, which meant that the shadows needed to be equally as dramatic. And the way that I went about this was to just color up the whole creature in a very mild blue color, and then I went and figured out where I wanted the light to come from and just add the light color to the light spots. There you go. And then after the light part was done, I went and I decided to add in my shadow areas next. Now these are not as dark as they're going to end up, but it certainly gives me a direction to go in. And then once I have kind of like the structure of everything figured out, then I can work on adding in the midtones and slowly start the transition between the light parts and the dark parts. Initially, when I had these like stilt things conjured up, I had just the pointy bit pointing down, and then I was trying to figure out logistically how that would work, and it needed to connect to him somehow, so I decided it's probably wrapped around his arms. And initially, I don't know if you caught it, but the arm that's reaching up, I had his stilt fallen on the ground because he's reaching up, so he wouldn't be using his stilt, right? But then I realized, if the stilts are attached, then it wouldn't make sense for his stilt to be on the ground. It would be still attached, but just kind of hanging there. And once I figured that out, it added such a cool touch that, I wouldn't have been able to think of this beforehand. This all came straight in the moment. And honestly, I think that's such a crucial part of drawing and learning how to be creative, is not being afraid of not knowing what you're doing beforehand. Just going with it and seeing the problems, or just thinking about what you're drawing. I mean, this guy turned into an old frail creature who maybe is sick. That's probably why he's wearing what are they called? A plague doctor mask. I mean, didn't they used to put herbs in there to try to heal the sick or keep the doctor from getting sick? So maybe, he's sick. They're on a long trek. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. They're on a long trek, a long journey, and this guy is barely keeping up. The last guy, not this guy. This guy, I started with shapes and I wanted to draw the circles in a different height difference than the bird creature so that he would have, he would end up looking different. And since I drew his first, the left circle, so close to the ground, that forced his back leg to be shorter, and then his other bigger circle was the front leg, and the leg needed to be longer. So it's really just fun to play with the circles and figure out how the body is supposed to look based on where the ground is and where the circles are. But yeah, as I was drawing these, I created a whole life story of all of these guys. Do you want to hear it? So because the first guy started out to be a frail creature who's walking on a long journey, to me that just made sense that they're being dragged and forced on this journey. There's no way that that bird creature would want to be on a long trek if he can't walk, right? Then this guy, when I started drawing this sloth creature, he can make the journey, but he's looking back and he realizes, hey, this guy's needing help. He's reaching out. I'm gonna turn around and try to help him. So that's why his other leg is kind of turned towards him, and I wanted his head to be turned that way too, so that, he's kind of in the motion of turning around and helping this guy. And I think that he's running a risk of being tortured for it. That's really dark, but that's kind of like, if the lighting is dramatic and the shadows are dramatic, to me that just means like this story is a little bit heavier than just a simple, we're gonna go on vacation. That's not what's happening here. But I decided that this creature was the able-bodied person. He's not a person. He's the creature that sticks up for the underdog. He cares about the person who can't stick up for themselves, and he's the gentle giant. So yeah, he has like a special spot in my heart. I think it's really exciting that that's how this guy turned out, and he's right in the middle. So that's nice that he's in the middle to me, because he's in the middle of my heart. So it's actually a new day at this point, and I had been spending the whole night thinking about these creatures, and the first two creatures specifically, their connection just seemed so important that I didn't want this third creature to feel like it was stealing the spotlight. So I had to figure out a creature that would it would be there, and it would help tell the story of their being dragged along this trek, this journey, right? Oh, by the way, I am marking off where the legs need to end for this because they're going to be all along the same path. They're like walking single file, so their legs need to all be on the same line, same plane of existence. I thought about whether or not they should be like connected by like a rope, but I decided against that just because that felt like too dreary. It felt really heavy instead of just implying heaviness. So I left the rope part out. And yeah, so back to this guy. I wanted him to be there and help tell the story without stealing the spotlight. So this is a roly-poly creature, and I thought that it was going to be simple. And it turned out the lighting was really confusing to me. Okay, so I had in my head, okay, if this guy is helping to tell the story, I don't want him to steal the spotlight, right? We went over that, blah, blah, blah. I need him to be a little bit darker in color than the other two so that they kind of have the spotlight, maybe literally, on them. So I wanted him to be darker, this guy, but I didn't want him to be so in the dark that he was just a shadow or like a silhouette. I wanted him to still have a shape. And so that was kind of figuring that out was a little tricky. Looking back at this now as a viewer, this is starting to feel a little bit like an Eric Carle creature. And I didn't think anything in the moment, but I did feel, hey, this feels really nostalgic for some reason, but that now it makes sense now that I can piece it together. This guy, so I wanted him to still be able to tell the story, so I gave him a little bit of like a collar type situation because I didn't want to draw chains. I didn't want to draw a rope, but maybe this collar is kind of telling the story further that, hey, we are owned by someone. But at this point, it's a new day, and I have been tinkering with the idea of adding a background, and I want the background to fade into the distance, so I figured the best way to do that is to do it with charcoal. And I am so nervous to do this because I really like how it's turning out so far and I don't want to mess it up. So I decided to switch gears and do something that will add to the foreground a little bit. So I want to add in this really weathered tree. Kind of spooky looking, but not so spooky that it's like terrifying, right? Just a tree that has no leaves. And I want the base of it to be closer to the front, so it's reaching all the way to the bottom of the page, and that way it feels like they're going to be walking behind the tree. And so that was my purpose of adding this tree at all, was to have something that feels like the foreground without covering them up. So like I didn't want to add like bushes to the front and have it completely like cover their legs or anything, because first of all, they're already drawn. I hadn't considered the foreground as I was drawing them. But yeah, I think that this adds to the foreground without adding in bushes to the front of them. I hope that makes sense. But in reality, the whole time that I'm drawing this tree, I am thinking about how I want to do the background, and I'm feeling very, like I keep thinking back to the game Hollow Knight and Silksong, just how they did their imagery, and I am so in love with that game for so many reasons, but the reason why I fell in love with it so deeply was because of how it looked. So they have, if you've never played it before, I'll try to describe it. So you have your main character, and then they have a background and a foreground. There we go. It's really not that deep, but it's like visually dark. Like they don't shy away from shadows and having the background. Okay, so there is a background and it's a beautiful scenery, but the background is like blurred and a little bit duller than everything else, so that the front view is very clearly in the front and the background is very clearly in the back. I don't know that I'm you guys. If you've stuck around, thank you. And I'm not going to continue this thought. So this whole time I'm thinking, okay, what can I add to the background with this charcoal? And I'm thinking, okay, do I want to add chains hanging blurrily in the background? And I didn't feel like it. It's not, I don't know, I just didn't. Yeah, I added a forest behind them instead. And I added those first two trees on the left, very obviously trees. And then I decided I wanted to go even more like blurry with the trees. So I tried to add like zigzaggy trees. Sorry guys, I'm like foaming at the mouth. I'm so excited about this. It's just hitting all of the right spots in my brain to do it, to talk about it, everything. Okay, let me slow down. So I'm adding in zigzaggy trees in the back, and I actually love how they turned out. I think that it adds, like, you can kind of tell that it's a tree, but if you want it to be something else, you can trick your brain into thinking that it's something else, you know? But ultimately, I like how it turned out, but I don't know. Since this is the first real background that I've done in a really long time, or maybe ever, I wasn't sure. I'm still not sure if I actually like it. I love the three characters and I love the tree, but maybe, like, I can't tell if the background is taking away from the story or if it's adding to the story. So you'll have to let me know if you like it. or what you think about it, because that matters, especially like the feedback helps. Like it matters what I think about it, but it also matters what the viewer thinks about it too, because I'm showing it to people and, well, you guys. I'm showing it to you. Like I imagine, okay, this is what I'm thinking. If I were to turn this into a book, would people enjoy it or would it be distracting? You know what I mean? So that's kind of why the feedback matters. Anyway, so at this point I decided to make the background stand out just a little bit further from the mid ground, and I wanted to, push it back a little. So I added a dusting of purple. What a great word. And that just helped push it back just a little bit. And then I decided, okay, I can add maybe just a little bit more to the foreground that won't hopefully take away from it. So I went monotone. What is that? Monochromatic, like one color. I added one color of grass strategically placed so that your eye kind of is drawn to the relation, like the communication that's happening with the front to left people, creatures, and not so much the right one. Anyway, this has been a time. So thank you for sticking around. It has been so much fun, and I seriously just love how this turned out, and I really hope that it was not just a total mishmash of something to watch. Again, I'm foaming at the mouth. I need to go. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Toodaloo.